So this is a rather comical, again, because Democrats are the ones who love the masks. But sadly, this ridiculous assembly member is not alone. In fact, Senators Cory Booker of New Jersey and Alex Padilla of California are now proposing legislation that would ban federal immigration agents from wearing masks. It would also require agents wear a visible name and badge number, I guess, to make it easier for these Antifa Democrats to dox them. But this really puts them in extreme danger. It puts their families in danger, and it's ridiculous. Padilla said, quote, "The Visible Act," which they're calling it, would restore transparency and ensure impersonators can't exploit the panic during the raids, which is such a ridiculous thing to say. You know, these people are here illegally. They shouldn't be here in the first place. And again, these law enforcement officers are just doing their job. So President Trump would actually commented on this yesterday. I wanted to mention the funniest part of this legislation that they're proposing is that there is an exception for surgical masks. So I guess the loophole here is, you know, if you pretend like you're scared of COVID, then it's okay to wear a mask. But if it's just, you know, a face covering, then it's unacceptable. Now, as I was mentioning, President Trump did comment on this yesterday. He was asked about it during his meeting with the 5 African leaders that came to the White House to visit him. Let's take a listen to his response on this matter.
2 Democratic senators now, Cory Booker and Alex Padilla, have a new bill out. They want to require CBP and ICE officers to have legible IDs, and they don't want CBP or ICE officers covering their faces. Would you ever sign that?
Well, they wouldn't be saying that if they didn't hate our country, and they obviously do. I'm surprised that they would do it. Knowing a little bit about them, I don't know them well, but these officers are doing a tremendous job. They're great patriots. If you expose them because of, you know, statements like have been made by Democrats and others on the left, usually, mostly, I think probably exclusively, you put them in great danger, tremendous danger. And it's sort of funny when people picket in front of Columbia, in front of Harvard, and they have masks on, more than masks. I mean, you can't see anything. Nobody complains about that. But when a patriot who works for ICE or Border Patrol puts a mask on so that they won't recognize him and his family, so they can lead a little bit of a normal life after having worked so hard and so dangerously, there's a problem with that. So they have this is the problem with the Democrats. They have a lot of bad things going on in their heads. They've really become they've lost their confidence, number one, and they've become somewhat deranged. I want to do whatever's necessary to protect our great law enforcement people, and they are right at the top of the list.
Mind you, of course, Democrats are still, you know, wearing masks to this day, either because they're afraid of COVID, ultimately the flu, a glorified version of the flu, or to commit crimes. I literally see Democrats running around this city all day with their faces covered in a mask because they are, you know, stealing. They're jumping over the metro so they don't have to pay for it. I mean, these are the real criminals here, yet they want to, you know, point the finger at ICE and say that they're the ones who are in the wrong here. So it really is despicable. Just to give you an idea of how violent these people are that are upset with ICE wearing face coverings, take a look at what is currently happening now in San Francisco. Really despicable behavior there. This is, of course, a result of Democrats openly ramping up the rhetoric to, make it seem like this is acceptable behavior to fight back against ICE. They are literally the ones who are inciting violence, which is really ironic considering they try to blame us for doing that. I don't recall ever, saying anything of that sort is okay, but I guess that's fine with Democrats. They are the party of criminals and violence. So it really is astounding. There's actually been a 700% increase in assaults against ICE. And now most recently, I believe, as we discussed on your show, Vanessa, attempted murder over in Texas with 11 suspects who were recently arrested for that. So the violence, the aggression is truly ramping up. And again, this is a result of Democrat policies and Democrats ultimately saying that this behavior is fine, which is truly despicable.
Yeah, and there's a difference, Allison. You know, you have these ICE agents who are dealing with the worst criminals in the world who are coming over to America. They are on the most wanted list in other countries coming to America. So of course they are hiding their face because of their security, but also their family's security. That's been around as long as law enforcement has been around. That's what they do. And so there's just no comparison in the criminals who are wearing masks because they don't want to go to jail and they don't want to be identified versus when ICE wears masks. So the left can do all they want and come up with this new act to try to get them to uncover their faces, but there is no comparison. Allison, we appreciate you and that report. And of course, we always thank our federal law enforcement officers for keeping us protected. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you, Vanessa.
It's another day and another vaccine. The FDA has approved a COVID vaccine for children as young as 6 months old. With more on this, we bring in Dr. Robert Bell. Thank you for being here with us today. Your thoughts on this approval for children, what can you tell us?
Thanks, Vanessa. I appreciate being on this topic and other things of importance to the health of our children and our nation. If we're ever going to make America healthy again, the idea of injecting genetic altering poisons, synthetic mRNA, is anathema to a healthy people, a healthy child. And, you know, with this mRNA platform, this is the whole future for the profits of big pharma, of the pharmaceutical industrial complex. They are relying upon something that has proven to be disastrous, dangerous, and even deadly with the COVID vaccines, and just platforming any other shots, which they have hundreds in the pipeline. And their pipe dream is to get them all approved by the FDA. It's quite astonishing in the midst of the changes that have occurred under the Trump administration that big pharma is so entrenched that even as we've cleaned up some of the bad guys, there's still a lot within the oligarchy that are promoting a pharma first and pharma only agenda for prevention of disease in the future. So we are not out of the woods yet. We still got a lot of work to do to clean up what's gone on before Trump got back into office.
Right. And, you know, as a mom and thinking about the vaccines that my child has taken and wishing that I could turn back time like a lot of mothers wish that they could, you know, we don't want to see our children having more vaccines. We're trying to get less. And so to see that news today that they're trying to shove another shot into our children is just so disgusting for the moms out there who just want to get rid of this altogether. What can you say about that?
Yeah, Vanessa, you know, this is the thing we've learned from the COVID overplay of, you know, big pharma's ownership and control of our regulatory system, and many of the politicians that would oppose bodily autonomy, you know, the right to say, hey, I don't want that injected into my kid. And I don't need any other information to give you. It's just period. This is where it ends. You don't have the authority to do this. And, you know, it's fascinating considering also what did we learn about COVID through the years of it? It was not harmful to kids. Kids were very unlikely to succumb to it, much less if they did, it was very mild, no real danger. The danger was posed by those that got this injection. So how can they explain the approval of another shot for something that has long since passed at this point and waned? It gets to the heart of the depth of the takeover of our government by the pharmaceutical industrial complex. People don't realize how deep that rabbit hole goes, and we're witnessing it even with the prosecution of a doctor in Utah, which I know we'll talk about as well, for simply, you know, refusing to give this poison shot, this injection, to families and kids and the parents that didn't want it. So there's a lot that we really need to uncover to understand the depth and how long this has been going on, Vanessa. You know, I remember when Trump first came to office in his first term, how much the deep state was still present there and how much he maybe didn't even realize it. And now as he came in much more aware, they're still looking to block the things that, for instance, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is trying to do in the Department of Health and Human Services, with new people heading up the FDA and even at NIH. There's an entrenched corruption that promotes a one-size-fits-all medical intervention, which is basically medical collectivism, a shot for every child, no matter what. We don't consider the risks to that child. Could they even process that vaccine? No, it's just shoot first, ask questions later. And if you're injured, you have no recourse. The government absolves these companies of any and all liability should those shots injure or kill your child. This is unconscionable. This is not freedom, and this is not a free market for medicine.
You are so right. And you're talking to a mother who is dealing with what thousands, if not millions of mothers across the country are dealing with right now, with a toddler getting ready to go to school. And you have the government saying that, and school districts, that you can't come to school unless you have your vaccines. And it is a fight to find a doctor who will sign off on allowing that. So saying that, you know, we're okay with you not giving your child vaccines, but where are the parental rights? This is my child. This is not the government's child. And so for them to think that it's okay to keep poking our children, that's not okay.
No, I'm a father of two kids that now have gone up through into adulthood, and they've never had one shot, not one. Because I recognized as a homeopath the danger of those shots from my childhood. And I had very few shots relative to what they give kids today. And so my authority as a parent is paramount here. The government has no interest whatsoever in injecting experiments into my children, whether they're mRNA based or previous versions of it. And of course, many of those previous versions are built on the dead children. In fact, aborted fetal cell lines have been utilized in many of the manufacturing of the vaccines on the schedule already, which, by the way, come with no liability once the ACIP committee approves it. CDC says thumbs up, and then it's basically purchased by your tax dollars. And then basically the CDC, which is operated as the de facto marketing and distribution arm of the vaccine industrial complex, then sends them to the states where the local health departments are injecting these children under the guise that they can't go to school without them. And certainly in California, New York, and a few other leftist states, they've even eliminated your right of religious objection, which should not require anything more than I object, period. And no questions asked. It's like, well, tell me what religion you're. It's irrelevant. You could be a member of any faith, and if that faith doesn't even have a specific statement on vaccines, you might have a belief against it because it is your personal belief, and that's enough as an American. But we have lost track of authority, and it's devolved into authoritarianism based on, once I said, the capture of our government and its agencies by a pharmaceutical religion. And you might go to church once or twice a week, and the rest of the time we're supposed to turn our children over to a different cult, this time of Asclepius or Pharmakia? I don't think so. And so I'm with the late, great Michael Badnarik when he was asked about the government mandates for vaccines after 9/11. This was when Bush was president. He says, you know what? I say, Doc, you bring the syringe, I'll bring my 45, and we'll see who makes a bigger hole. And until parents have that level of certainty in defense of their children, the government will run roughshod over you when they think you don't really mean no.
I'm coming with you with the 45 because you mean business. And I think that all the parents out there need to keep up the fight because it does get tiring. You feel like, you know, your back's against the wall, you're being pushed into a corner, and that there's no hope because you're absolutely right. Religion, you can't even claim that anymore. And so in a lot of these states. And so it's very difficult. They're making it very hard for parents to get their kids into schools. And now, you know, this new news coming out this morning about the vaccine for children for COVID. It's just what gives, when does it end? Let's talk about the ongoing trial you mentioned. What can you tell us the latest there?
Yeah, Dr. Kirk Moore is a plastic surgeon, an allopathic physician trained, also a Navy flight surgeon, served honorably. Complete clean record, not a criminal in any way, shape, or form. And he was called into special service, if you will, during COVID, as many people, families with children, came to him pleading for help. because their children were going to be excluded from school, from events, sporting events, dramatic musical events, choir, travel, you name it. Their kids couldn't be kids anymore. And some of these adults were not allowed to go to work without a shot or proof of a shot in some way, the vaccine identification card, if you will. And so he rose to the call. And he said, you know what? I have a duty to protect these people. And with full consciousness, with full informed consent, these parents worked with him to get the shots that were not shots. He discarded the actual shots and gave even the kids saline with the parental authority. And so the kids would believe they got vaccinated, so they didn't have to lie or think that they weren't, because the kids shouldn't have to, deal with this kind of nonsense. And because of that, the federal government, in its vindictive action against all doctors to make one doctor an example, went after Dr. Kirk Moore when Biden was president. They indicted him and tried to get him on various charges. The state decided not to prosecute this man because the regulation of doctoring of medicine is a state level issue, not a federal issue. So the federal government under the Department of Justice under Biden went after him based on destruction of government property and some sort of conspiracy to discard of government property improperly, whatever. And it's a completely selective prosecution. And you might understand it under the Biden administration, but why under Pam Bondi and the Trump administration they've elected to move forward with this prosecution? Now, day 3 of the trial today, that is a mystery. Other than my suspicions now, as we look more into Pam Bondi, is that she had ties to working with Pfizer. In fact, dismissed a couple of cases against Pfizer recently. And the revolving door between big government and big pharma is legendary. And I am very suspicious because the judge in this case in Utah, the federal judge, asked the prosecution in some of the pretrial preparation, said, are you sure you want to go through with this prosecution? Things have shifted now that Trump is president. The politics are not the same as it was under Biden. And they elected to go for it and go forward. And now it's very interesting. They were trying to hamstring Dr. Kirk Moore's defense because of why did he do it? What is the motivation that you discarded of these vaccines and didn't give them? And they don't want him to say anything about the danger of the vaccines, the adverse events in the vaccines. And so they were going to prohibit him from having an adequate defense until the federal government, the Department of Justice, brought in one of its key witnesses, a heavy hitter from the CDC who was in charge of the distribution and promotion of these COVID vaccines and defending them as safe and effective. And they really stepped in it, Vanessa, because now he has the opportunity to call his own witnesses to show how unsafe and ineffective they are. Even the FDA has added warning labels to these COVID shots. So that's the short story. Please ask me anything, because this is a travesty. And doctors, I'm talking to all of you. If you don't stand up for this doctor, they're coming after you next.
Yeah, and we do have, you mentioned Pam Bondi, not a great week for her when it comes to all the news that's come out this week and what's happening there in court. MAGA's really starting to question her job and if she's fit for this job. Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene out of Georgia. She's been a defender of his during this trial.
Yeah, she's extraordinary. She came out, she saw the reports from our friends that died suddenly, and we have been appearing on various media outlets describing the atrocious prosecution, selective prosecution of this doctor who should be considered a hero for standing in the gap due to necessity, that these families had no other option if their kids were able to have in fact, one of the people, and by the way, there are no victims here. Nobody's claiming Dr. Moore defrauded them. They all asked for this help. And one of them was going to be denied a transplant if they didn't get the COVID injection. I mean, you want to talk about unconscionable. So this doctor stood in the gap, much like those, if you go back to Nazi Germany who hid the Jews, that was against the law too. But it was the right thing to do to hide people who are going to be murdered by the government. And in this case, you're protecting families and children who didn't want to get the shot. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, kudos to her. She acknowledged this is an outrageous prosecution. She's reached out to the Department of Justice and the Trump administration and has asked that they withdraw the prosecution and stop it altogether. Our last gasp here, because it's sort of like almost a Star Chamber scenario where the guilty verdict is already in place if they can get away with it, would be to ask President Trump to pardon this man. But I don't think it should go that far. because then it sets the precedent that they can prosecute doctors who stand in the gap to do what is right when the federal government, it far exceeds its constitutional authority to force injections on Americans who do not want them.
You're absolutely right. And we're running out of time. I wish I could talk more about this trial with you. You'll have to come back on soon for a part two, especially as the trial is ongoing. How can we follow you? I know you are posting a lot on X, a social media handle for people to follow you and what you're doing.
Yeah, Ask RSB. My initials, Robert Scott Bell, RSB. Ask RSB. I do my show every day, 3 o'clock Eastern time, and you can find that at robertscottbell.com and various places where I'm not banned.
That's another topic too. Part 3. When you come back on with us. Thank you so much for coming here today. We appreciate you being here, and we'll definitely follow that trial as well.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Now to today's Bible verse of the day. It comes from the book of Timothy, and it says this: "For I know whom I have believed, and I am convinced that he is able to guard what I have entrusted to him until that day." And as we end the show, a reminder to support Mike Lindell. You can go to mypillowtrial.com. Every dollar helps. He has 2 weeks to raise $400,000 in his appeal process stemming from the Colorado case. The deep state, it's wanting to silence him. But with your help, Mike Lindell will never be silenced. So you can support Mike right now, today, if you can, in his effort for secure elections. Again, that website is mypillowtrial.com, and you can see the tabs right there where you can just click on any dollar amount. It's a very easy process. Give to Mike Lindell. He has helped support so many people across America, and so it's now our turn to help support Mike. And that will do it for us here today on Spin Room. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you right back here tomorrow, same time, same place. In the meantime, His glory is next, and you're watching Lindell TV.
The last time President Trump was in office, gold soared 50% and silver went up a huge 53%. Americans who invested in silver and gold during Donald Trump's first presidency are very happy that they did it. And right now, gold continues to soar to the highest numbers in history. These gains are just an appetizer for what's to come. Some market analysts are saying that gold is predicted to rise another 30% in the next year alone. So now's the time to invest in gold and silver, and that's why I partnered with Fisher Liberty Gold. Fisher Liberty Gold is a conservative-owned and operated precious metals investment company. They even helped my good friend President Trump get elected through their contributions to Turning Point USA and other conservative groups. I have dedicated my life to ensuring that people get the best sleep ever, and in addition to owning a MyPillow, I can now sleep well at night knowing that you can all protect your savings with precious metals with Fisher Liberty Gold. With Fisher Liberty Gold, you can sleep well knowing that your retirement is secure. And if you call now, you're going to receive your very own presidential gold guide and qualify for up to $20,000 in free silver. But wait, there's more. Call now or text metals to 26786 to receive your presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty. And for a limited time, I will send you a free MyPillow for qualified accounts. This presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty will tell you exactly why you need to own gold even while Donald Trump is president. And just by calling in, you get a free MyPillow for a limited time for qualified accounts and up to $20,000 in free silver. So don't wait. Call 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today. That's 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today to receive your free MyPillow and up to $20,000 in free silver. Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live